Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for spending this evening with us. We know we're in between the very important press conference of the Prime Minister and then the kick-off of tonight's football match between Spain and Sweden. So we will be trying our fair best to make sure that we can cope with everything. My name is Fan. For those of you who our first time into our meeting, I am the chair of the BCS Bedford, the local branch of the BCS in this area. In the online world, the geographic location does not make so much of a difference, but we hope sometime soon, despite what the Prime Minister say, that we'll be able to get to a face-to-face meeting again. And when that happens, the regular meeting place of the branch is the Bedford Hotel next to the river in Bedford. And then the coffee and the scone cookies that are made especially for us will be available then. So right now, I can only use the virtual image to let you know that's what we could do. And then hopefully sometime soon, maybe in the next program year, we'll be able to get to a face-to-face meeting situation. And the intention is that while we have been online, we have a lot of friends who come from different parts of the UK, but we have had friends from Mauritius, from Cayman Island, from California, and other places who joined us in our meeting. So we hope even when we get to the point where we are meeting face-to-face, we'll still be having a Zoom connection. Tonight's talk is a very interesting one. So the topic is headless, not that we are like a headless chicken, but it seems to be the new technology for doing websites. And I'm really, really pleased to have Sam with us. I know him for many years, and it was some years ago when I need to quickly build a website for the Cranfield Astronomical Society in the university that we run into each other. He was running his business, doing all the websites, so he kindly get me into doing something quickly with WordPress. When we thought we may be able to refresh our technology, I have a conversation with him, and then he introduced all these concepts of headless that he is going to share with us later. So it seems things have been moving leaps and bounds. But the way that we have invited him to do is to try to not go into it too technical, and the slides will be available, the recording will be available on the BCS YouTube later, and he is happy that you can find his credentials in LinkedIn, and for people who want to follow up deeper in the technology, there's an opportunity to do that too. So in a little while, I'll pass on to Sam, who is going to take us through the main talk tonight. And at the end, we have a bit of time for Q&A. What we'd like people to do is that if you have questions, please enter them in the chat box. And then Severio, our secretary, and I will be kind of keeping an eye on that, and we'll be able to channel the Q&A. If it is something immediate clarification, we may interrupt Sam. Otherwise, we'll be grouping those questions to the end. And then we'll leave the meeting open for a bit of time, especially for some of our old timers who may want to have a natter with each other and catch up, or with people who are first time with us and want to know more about us. And we'll keep the meeting going on until everybody wants to either go home or watch football. As far as the branch is concerned, we are the local presence of the BCS, which is the international body, and in the UK is the chartered body for IT. So if you want to gain a chartered engineer status in the UK, this is the organization to go through. Within the local area, we have this list of very good people giving their time to organize things. So I know Severio, our secretary, is with us. On the attendance list, I've seen David, who is our treasurer, and I may miss a few other people who are serving on the committee. And we are always looking for people willing to volunteer and give time so we can have a program which is good and appropriate for our area and interest. So anybody who feel you have an interest to serve, please make contact later. But right now, I just want to acknowledge the efforts of these good people who tirelessly work with us to make all these events happen. Tonight is actually a part of the sequence of events that we do. So after we were able to regroup from the lockdown, we have been running a monthly meeting on the second Monday of each month. So those are the meetings that we have done. Some of them you'll be able to find a recording on YouTube. A couple of them are more specific that the speaker preferred not to be in the YouTube. But if you are particularly interested in those topics that you cannot find, feel free to get in contact. We may be able to connect up with the speaker so you can find out more. After tonight, next month will be our final professional talk that George, our friend, who have just built, according to him, the 5th fastest high-performance computer in the UK, is going to share his experience of the build and the commissioning. So for those of us who have an interest in doing a lot of quick computing, that could be of interest, and it's something that we can find out more. The future events are, of course, impacted by what the Prime Minister said tonight, so we'll have to regroup a little bit. But one of the things that is not changing is the local school challenge that we have been running for many years. So this is our effort to encourage young people in school age to have an interest in computing. So hopefully they'll take up a computing career. The schools have been participating, and we have reached out to all 500 plus schools in our area. I forgot to update the slide, but actually we have delayed the submission deadline by a week to the 23rd of June. So if you're a teacher or parent of a school or grandparents that you would like to encourage the schools to participate, there's still this gap that can happen. And after the submission, we have a judging panel to do this together. This is an initiative that we partner with the local police force in encouraging good cyber behavior. So a panel will be from ourselves, from some of the school leader, and from the police team that will select the winners. And my original hope that we can do a face-to-face prize presentation, unfortunately, is not going to be able to work still with the COVID restrictions. So we'll be doing an online winners announcement and prize presentation in the morning of the 7th of July. So for those of you interested, please get in touch. We'll be able to try to fit everybody in now that it is online. So check our website. It's one of the things in terms of our local community that we're really keen to do as part of making a good positive impact to our community. So this is the end of my bit of introducing the branch, but for any people who want to know more, please make contact with us. Now I'm going to stop sharing and then invite Sam to take over the screen and tell us about this wonderful headless thing.
Thank you, Dr. Fan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Liu, and I first started a digital agency around 14 years ago, and I started off not quite in Bedfordshire, but close by in nearby Milton Keynes. And a few years ago, I sold the business to our American namesake, which is also called WebFX. It's now the largest search SEO agency in the United States, and they're really doing great things on the internet. As a result, since then, I've been kind of advising businesses, SME business leaders in the United Kingdom and abroad. And we also operate as a solutions partner to a range of tech providers such as Adobe Experience Cloud. I'll go through some of these with you all this evening. Now, headless commerce is something that's really, it's really helped businesses throughout the lockdown period. So throughout COVID, a lot of businesses had to pivot, and it's changed the traditional way of building websites online. Now, I have got a slide deck which I'm going to share. I hope everybody can see it, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, and we can go from there. Right, so headless commerce. Let's go from there. So what is headless commerce? Okay, that's what everybody wants to know. Well, traditionally, when you build a website, you would probably work in HTML, you would or download a content management system, or CMS for short, such as WordPress. Now, that's probably the most popular one. Now, if you can see my screen, over the years, we've moved on from coding everything in HTML to probably buying a theme online. This is available for $60 on the internet. It's very easy to use, and over the past, I would say 10 or so years, this is what people have been doing. They've been downloading WordPress, uploading it, buying a theme like this, and then you can tailor this to how you want. You can tailor this to whatever website you want to work. But if you go to features, these are all pre-built solutions, which is very easy to log in and to edit the website. Okay, so that's been really popular for over the past 10 years or so. However, with WordPress and with other content management systems, they're quite slow, sometimes quite clunky, and then if you want to optimize it to work with lots of different technology, it's too complicated. And that's why all these problems have given the rise to headless. So headless commerce. So in its simplest form, headless commerce separates the front end and the back end of the website. So by separating the front, the back, you give business owners, small business managers, the freedom and expression to build whatever they want, however they want. So with WordPress and HTML, you're restricted by the plugin that's available. You can buy off-the-shelf solutions, but if you install something, it might not work with something else. So there's a lot of headache around bolting together a website. Okay, a headless technology option allows you to utilize different technology and connect them together. So how does it work? Well, one of the hallmarks of headless technology is, like I said, APIs. We can use different experience managers and tools, as well as other IT partners, to create online digital solutions which suits the needs of the business. These resources are really critical. It's a critical part of every company's innovation strategy, delivering new functionality and experiences that engage customers and stay ahead of their expectations. Now, traditionally, if you build a website, you need to look at the code. You need to look at how that code works on different devices. Then when there's a business user in a business, when he wants to update content, he's kind of stuck waiting for the developer to be able to make those changes. And sometimes it's very hard to turn things around because you're waiting for lots of different people. When we moved on to WordPress and other content management systems, it made it much easier to update content. But then there are things like other tools that you want to connect to the website, but then WordPress has its own limitations. And being open source, most of our customers, before they came to us, a lot of them got hacked because things were not updated, or the plugins were out of date, the WordPress version was out of date, or the theme wasn't compatible with the latest version of WordPress. So this whole architecture of a WordPress website had a lot of problems. Okay, so by using headless technology, we're able to overcome a lot of these issues. Now, one of the big benefits of headless is that there's better employee adoption. Okay, so employees can focus on their different roles. They don't have to worry. So if you're a content creator, for example, you don't need to worry about what the developer is doing. You can log in to the website and just do your job function. So if you were publishing a news article, you can just go to the news article side, and then the designer can work on the different systems, so the two of them, there's not conflicting basically. And you also got the right tools for each job. Okay, you're not trying to make WordPress work with everything. You're able to work around it so that you get the best tools for the thing that you're trying to do. I'll give you an example of that just very quickly. I won't dwell on it, but we recently built an NHS vaccination booking form. And actually, I'll bring it up for you guys very quickly. So hopefully you can all see this. So this is one of the ones that we built. We've built this system for quite a few NHS trusts, so St Bart's and a few others. They all use the same system, and we were able to duplicate this very quickly. In fact, I'll give you an example. We were the third choice agency to build this, and I'll use this as a case study of why we were able to turn things around very quickly, so everyone can sing Boris Johnson's praises for vaccinating as many people as possible. So this is what we call a headless WordPress solution, and it allows the members of the public to go online and book a vaccination. It has multiple functions, so you can not only can you book a vaccination online, but for the staff, for the doctors, there's also an online application form so that they're able to register to work for the NHS. And then if they click on this, although it looks like it's on the same website, doctors and nurses can fill in a questionnaire and then add the details. Now, this part of the website serves a HR function, but the vaccination site serves, so booking a vaccination serves a different function as well, and they're operated by different teams. By having a headless website, we're able to support both functions, so the doctors registering to work at the different COVID sites, and separate them with the people who are requesting a COVID-19 vaccination request. Okay, so it's different technology working on the same website in order to fulfill different functions. So if I go back to the presentation, so the impact to the customers and visitors, the path to growth means pivoting very quickly to meet new customer and different experiences and expectations. When COVID-19 first hit, a lot of businesses in the UK and around the world, they had to adapt quickly from e-commerce selling online to also having booking systems so people can do track and trace, or they can order things. I think my favorite example of this is after our usual Tuesday night football games, we had to go to, well, we didn't have to, but we decided to go to the pub after the game, and we were trying to order from an app. So you had to first download an app, right? And then you can log into the app, then you can order what you want, and they'll bring it to the table. Okay, but in order for this system to work, we had to connect lots of different technologies together. right? You have first the ordering system, which is a Apple website based system, but then you've got to have a checkout gateway. So we need to connect the checkout by API so people can actually pay for it. And then there's also, it's got to work on mobile devices as well. So we had to look at how that affects, so the different mobile devices affects how people order. And we had to also look at the speed of the ordering process. So there's so many mitigating factors in order to achieve a successful ordering app. So headless technology allows us to build all of this very quickly. Traditionally, if you were to build something like this, you'll be looking at 3 to 4 weeks. We managed to do it in 2 to 3 days. So it gives you an idea of how that's applied during the COVID, the start of the COVID pandemic. Now, if we go back to WordPress, the content management system, a lot of businesses know that, well, WordPress is great, but what can we do with it to make it work with headless? So there's now something called Headless WordPress. Okay, so in this instance, WordPress no longer generates the pages on the front end of the website. So that's done by a different team that does, can use things like React or other modern coding languages to, improve the user experience, the front end experience of the website. And the actual WordPress itself functions only as the back end for content creation. So business users such as the blog posters and the people writing articles to the websites will use that to enter everything, but we're using the WordPress API to connect it to actually the rest of the website. So essentially, we're completely decoupling the front end of the website from the website's data sources. Now, what's the benefit? Well, headless has become really popular for a number of reasons. For developers, they want to use modern frameworks like React to build website applications, and headless enables that possibility. It's also scalable. If you remove the burden of rendering from WordPress, you reduce the load on your WordPress instance, which allows WordPress to scale much easier with greater traffic. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, one of our clients went on Dragon's Den. They had this zombie experience. I don't know if anybody watched it on TV. And he didn't really need the investment from the dragons. But what he did was he had a great idea where he took ex-serving British soldiers, people who were in Afghanistan, the veterans, and he had the funny idea, and I think it's quite clever actually, but he took them and he dressed them up as zombies, and the members of the public paid £100 a go to beat the hell out of them. And, he had a great business, it was turning just shy of £1 million. And when he went on Dragon's Den, it was just to kind of raise some PR. He didn't actually need the money. But we said to him at the time, look, you need to get yourself some new hosting, because this is what you've got, like a basic WordPress website. The load you're going to get from being on prime time BBC, the website is not going to manage it. You're going to lose your website. And well, he was quite frugal at the time, and he didn't really believe us. He thought, no, nothing's going to happen. So that evening, he went on Dragon's Den, and guess what? The website crashed. Luckily, we knew it was going to crash, so we had another solution, which we were able to point the A records to our solution very quickly. So we were able to rescue him, and as a result from that action, we rescued his evening. He got a lot of bookings out of it. So I mentioned briefly earlier, security is also a big problem with websites, content management systems, So by using headless commerce, we are able to remove the responsibility of rendering from WordPress. It reduces surface areas for attacks. We can choose what APIs we use to expose to the internet. So I'll give you an example. Some local authorities in the United Kingdom, we use WordPress for the back end of the website, but we're able to connect using APIs to some hardened security solutions to protect the data that's transmitted between the user's device and the website, especially with digital payments for your council tax. You can rest assured that these kind of payment gateways are all protected because we're able to detach the payment and the security function of the website from the main core CMS. And the biggest benefit, as we discussed, is we're able to integrate WordPress with lots of different plugins with WordPress, but they don't always work together. By using APIs, we have greater control of integrations, and most services nowadays integrate with JavaScript or Node.js. Okay, so really the adopters of headless commerce are, not your kind of average, chip shop owner or something like that. They're bigger, small, medium-sized businesses with not necessarily an in-house development team, but they work with a third-party development team like ourselves, or IT teams like yourselves with a DIY attitude. Because custom programming needed to build a separate front end and a back end is an investment, but it can help your business pivot very quickly. So I just want to go back quickly to talking about, just to emphasize on the benefits that I touched briefly earlier. So the key points here, so benefits of headless commerce. So we touched quickly on better employee adoption. Well, some businesses are reluctant to use new technologies because there's a lot of learning involved. Having a modern headless solution solves this problem, since everyone on the team can easily access and update the front end without advanced skills. The right tools for the job, just going back to it quickly, just to summarize it, that headless commerce gives businesses tools to build custom experiences that shoppers may not have experienced before or can't get anywhere else. Critical to this is that APIs are coordinated and consistent across all the different channels. So for example, an e-commerce website can connect with eBay. People can check out using Amazon, so that they have their peace of mind, checking out with something that they're familiar with, even if they're not buying directly from Amazon themselves. And for you guys, for the IT companies, it saves a lot of time, right? It saves a lot of time across IT, since changes to the front end can be made in an agile, in an agile development method. Developers save time on user interface designs, and with headless templates and partner solutions already pre-built. Just like the example I gave you with integrating payments, developers only need a few clicks and some light coding to, get things going, jumpstart e-commerce apps, and also utilize tools to increase conversion. So the time to market, very quick. Headless commerce businesses can launch new front-end experiences very quickly. Reacting to new market trends can be done rapidly with as low cost as possible. Okay, so what we found again during COVID, these were some of the reasons why some of our customers transitioned from traditional to headless, especially in the e-commerce arena. Companies wanted to improve their user experience, which ultimately improves their bottom line through conversions. So for e-commerce stores, it improved their conversion rate as well, and ultimately, that they also deliver better customer satisfaction. Okay, so I'm going to move on to a case study of Moonpig. Now, this was a...
Sorry, Sam, there were a couple of questions. Would you like to perhaps address some of those clarification ones first before you move to Moonpig?
Yeah. Cool.
So just quickly, some of those earlier one is WordPress giving you the freedom to customize your own web app?
Yeah, so so the rendering features, yes, that's hi Phil. To answer your question, yes, but that's through the headless solution. So WordPress have now recognized, so a lot of WordPress, not WordPress itself, but WordPress hosting providers, they've recognized that developers probably want more choice. So if you use a headless WordPress solution, you can it has its own static rendering features, which has been really useful. We found it. Well, how can I describe it? When we talk about headless with WordPress, we're kind of using WordPress for content creation, but not for the front end rendering. Okay, so instead of using the traditional WordPress themes and stuff like that, you can develop your own front end using JavaScript frameworks. So one of our favorites is React. And in addition, the front end is hosted on a separate server from the actual WordPress instance. So the front end that you're talking about is responsible for displaying content to the end user, but it needs to access that content. So what we do in order to do that, we utilize the WordPress REST API, which you may or may not be familiar with. And this allows us to offer a different front end to the standard WordPress. So we within our own organization use something called Node.js, and by utilizing APIs this way, it especially in this headless kind of environment, it gives us the ability to aggregate data from lots of different sources without having to set up different reverse proxies or lots of confusing configurations. So for us, I think the biggest advantage of that is that it's improved the performance, decoupling the pieces needed to run a website, and only allowing the WordPress API to be exposed. So I hope that answers.
Yes, probably related question around the terminology of static or static rendering.
Yeah, sorry, I just missed you for a bit.
So, I think there's also a related question around is headless the new static?
Yeah, yes and no, right? Because the front end is responsible for displaying the content, right? So it's not used for the actual front end rendering directly, right? So it's we traditionally use themes to render the front end. Headless, you're actually using something else to develop your front end, like like I said, we use React a lot of the time, or different designers have their different favorites, but it's not the actual new static. And then Phil said, sorry, Alex said, Phil, WordPress is a great tool to create quick and basic app, but you haven't used it for 4 years already. You'd like to create a web app with Django. Is this an interactive presentation? I'm not sure if it's an interactive presentation. I don't have any kind of WordPress. I don't have a demo of that, but if you haven't worked on WordPress for 3 to 4 years, you'll find that it actually changes very quickly, and this is what a lot of businesses get caught out on. You know, if you build a WordPress website and you just sit on it. My greatest example is a not to be named private school in Gerrards Cross. There's a few of those. So, well, it's in South Buckinghamshire. And one day we look after the website of one of the schools, and the webmaster there gave us a call and said, Sam, do you know what? The school down the road, their site's being hacked by ISIS. You know, there's pictures of decapitated people all over the website. Is it going to happen to ours? And it was quite shocking, actually, because we logged online and we found, actually, yeah, the website hasn't been updated. And as a result, that website got hacked, and people put pictures of, you know, horrible, gruesome things on the website, and it was very hard for the parents and the school to get away from that. Luckily, we didn't manage the website of that school. We managed a different private school in Gerrards Cross, and that's why they called us, said, well, the school down the road is being hacked, are we okay? And we were able to say to them, look, your website's being updated regularly, so you don't need to worry about it being hacked or people getting in through the database. So I would say to Alex, you know, WordPress has changed very quickly. I would say if you were building a basic web app, I would still use it, you know, to work and create something if you want. And then for web apps, there's lots of other tools which I can share with you after this presentation. Okay. Now,
I think Meta have his hands up yet.
Yes, a quick question. So in entirety, headless would mean that the front end part of the website or the app is hosted in a different server to where the back end is, and they are communicating via the API. Would you have another server to talk to an ERP system then later on, if you're you know, doing commerce online with that, and that becomes completely headless?
sorry, I beg your pardon, I missed that part.
Sorry, Sam. So what I understand is that having the front end hosted on a different server to the back end makes it headless in some way or the other. And then if I want to connect, if I'm commercing or there is an e-commerce site, if there is another server with an ERP system somewhere, then you can correlate via APIs all three of these. So two questions in one.
So I'll give you an example of this. So for headless commerce, there's a few different websites that uses geolocation, so geo API. So it needs different it recognizes different IP addresses to serve content based on the region that you're in. So you can actually have different IP addresses based on the region that you're in, and then it depends on which tool you use. For the main content management system, you can actually set where you want, which IP you want to use. So you can have multiple IPs, but you have to also use tools to connect it together so that you serve the content based on, you know, an IP address as well.
Thank you, Sam. I think
we've got another question from Stuart as well.
Would like, if at all possible, to have a more graphical picture to understand how the different components for the architecture of the front and back.
Yeah.
If there's not one, maybe in your case example, perhaps you can highlight that for us.
Yeah, so I can actually Moonpig. I don't know if any of you guys have used this. This is if you work quite long hours like me, this is a lifesaver sometimes. Particularly as we've got a team in Australia as well. I often use this to send cards to my colleagues. Now, Moonpig is a great example of utilizing headless technology. Now, the reason, so I can't quite give you a picture of how it works in a diagram format, but what I can do is, because unfortunately I don't know why the pictures for the slides are not showing up for you guys. It's showing up for me. But Moonpig, because there's so many cards and there's so many content, there's so many things behind the e-commerce platform, it uses APIs to connect different aspects of the website together. Now, the main website is now separated from the e-commerce side. So if I were to click on this page, you will see lots of different cards. All the content, all the cards here are listed in a separate kind of a content data cloud. Okay, so all the content, or the people designing the cards, they don't actually put it on the e-commerce site itself. They put it into a content management system, and then where they would list the price of the product and all the content. If we go to more information, everything is listed in everything is all the text, product details, delivery options, that's managed by a third-party system. Even the search for the website, that's handled by a different on a different server by a different engine. So if I was to search for Father's Day, you can see there's a recommendation engine there which helps you autofill to help improve the user experience, helps you find what you're looking for. So essentially with the Moonpig website, there's a content management system which manages all the cards, all the content, all the products that they sell. The search is decoupled, it's managed by a different system, and the website itself, the front end design, so this whole front end look and feel is also managed by another system as well, and it connects all via API. If you want to, I have a small business example. So if I go to equilibriumproducts.com, this is a small business based in South Buckinghamshire. It's they sell equestrian products. So if I go to, say, nutrition, one of the products here, so this is actually a WordPress website. So it's a simple, cost-effective solution, but because they have different content, different sizes, and all the stocks in different locations throughout Buckinghamshire, they use something else called DS Systems, and they use this to manage the inventory and online for the products. So we integrate this solution, DS Systems, with the e-commerce side of the business. So all the products are entered on this system, all the pricing, the description, the images, where the stock is, how long it takes to dispatch, and then everything feeds onto this front end website here. All right, so we're taking, because if you had this whole inventory management system on the same website, it would just be so clunky and so slow. And I think that's the best way of describing it. So you're taking the kind of the system order management system out of it. So when you land on this product, it only calls the information that the user requires, which is the product description, because they don't need to know, where it's stored, in which warehouse. That's all handled using this other portal. So I think that's a kind of an example of where a small UK-based business has utilized Headless to manage the stock management, of their e-commerce website, and it's been really, really good for the team, because they were able to split the role of the website management. So the the young lady who's managing the data entry for the products doesn't really need to worry about the front end of the website. So if we look at these images, the graphics designer can manage this side of the website without having to think about how it affects the back end on the different products, and they just link it through as well. Okay, so that's a small UK business utilizing that headless commerce using APIs to connect to its inventory management system. So yeah, Moonpig is this transfer from traditional e-commerce. So can you imagine the search? You know, that's so many people searching on the site all the time. That's, you know, it'll make it slow. By separating that, it makes it, you know, much quicker. I'm just conscious of time, so I'm going to really move on quite quickly to, sorry if I've waffled on a little bit, the case study for Asia Miles. So the third subject that we wanted to talk about tonight was personalization. So we've moved from traditional CMS systems to headless technology, but with headless technology, we're able to improve the experience of the users. And I want to give you an example of a company that we worked with. Now, if you fly with British Airways, different airlines, or if you collect points in the UK, we've got something called so in the UK we collect Avios points. In Asia we collect Asia Miles. This is a project which we completed last year with Cathay Pacific. So this was in Cathay City, next to the airport they have in Hong Kong. Now, bring up my. So Asia Miles has been established since 1999. It's got just under 200 employees in Hong Kong, and for this website, it's a HTML website, so it's going back to, you know, traditional HTML, but it means it's very quick. There's lots of different languages, and that it serves content in. And we connected we connected two different solutions. One is something called, well, you've all heard of Adobe. It's something called Adobe Experience Cloud. Okay, so what we did was we helped Asia Miles transform its digital platform to personalize the marketing. They've got over 12 million members worldwide, and we used Adobe Experience Cloud to better serve the content. Okay, so going back to here, so the objectives that we have was to use the wealth of data to personalize the marketing, communications, and experiences across digital channels. We wanted to improve the member satisfaction, to promote loyalty and engagement. We want to create personalized campaigns and communications. We want to do it quicker as well, to be able to respond to their searches. And we also want to innovate digital experiences with new features and technologies that deliver results. So we went to Hong Kong and we added some data, so AI solutions and machine learning solutions to help them to help them better serve the content to their users. If we take Dr. Fan, for example, if he was flying to Hong Kong and collected lots of points, you know, he might want to redeem them at restaurants. So it will take away the things that identify him personally, like his name, but it will look at his age, the date of birth that he would have provided. It would look at the restaurants that he's looked for, you know, because on this website you can redeem your points for restaurants, flight awards, travel awards, entertainment awards, lifestyle, you know. So if he redeemed his points for a particular hotel in Hong Kong, this will help when he's searching. If he's logged in, it will help him. The system will remember, you know, what hotels he's searching for. where he's actually redeemed, and then it will look at its own database and find other people of the same kind of socioeconomic background, similar age, similar nationality, and it will also serve them similar content. So it's kind of using machine learning, to search, to personalize the content that it serves to its customers. So by implementing a solution, by using headless technology, we were able to implement a search and personalization software to the back end of the website, link it up by API. And as a result, there was a 30% reduction in the production lead time to create and deliver personalized monthly statements. You can imagine there's 12 million members worldwide. How do you serve them relevant content? A backpacker looking for a cheap flight to Hong Kong, then on to Australia, will not be looking for the same experiences as Dr. Fan, who's probably wants a nice hotel for the weekend with his family, a nice meal somewhere. So just to kind of close off, this also helped improve the Net Promoter Score with personalized experiences across email, website, and mobile apps. So that's to kind of improve the relevancy of the content, and it's also reduced the time to market from weeks to days, to help the marketing team automate some of the campaigns. So it's using the data that's collected and serving them. It's using the data that's collected to kind of improve, to be able to respond to the searches very quickly. So, for example, if I were to search for a restaurant in somewhere in Hong Kong, probably a day later, I'll get an email to say, oh yeah, you were looking at this restaurant. Have you considered these other restaurants to redeem your points? And it also increased transactions. This is quite a crucial figure, by 80%, using blockchain marketing. This is a totally different subject, which we'll touch base upon a different time. But this is just a quick overview to see how machine learning and artificial intelligence is used, so that whenever you interact with this website, whether it's searching for something, if we're searching for restaurants, it would then search for the popular searches, and if I was actually logged in, it will serve the content, it will serve better search results. It will serve better search results to me, because it would have looked at my behavior in the past, and it would categorize these restaurants depending on price, location, so on, etc. as well. So so that's some of the results. Do have a look around some of these websites, play around with some of the technologies. One of the takeaways that I probably introduced to you guys is a website called built.with, and then if you enter a web address in there, it's really cool. You can then there is a free version. Just click on built with. If you click look up, it tells you some of the, when it eventually decides to load, it will tell you some of the technologies that is used within these websites. And you'll see with headless websites, there's lots of different technologies. So you can see here, it uses things like tag management to track things. There's Adobe Marketing Cloud Analytics. So it's got the full suite of Adobe stuff. It also uses Google Analytics, conversion tracking tools, conversion linker. So you can see all the tools it uses to connect everything together, to Experience Manager, Atlassian Cloud, to be able to serve content. So that's a really useful tool when it comes to new inquiries for our business. We're able to use this to find what their competitors are using, and then offer similar solutions. So so just to summarize, really, headless commerce is the trend that people are using, especially for small, medium-sized businesses looking to offer a better experience to their customers. Yes, if you're looking for a simple site, I would recommend things like WordPress or Ghost. That's a popular CRM at the moment. But if you're looking for a solution to help a business really grow, I would really explore Headless. Look at it much deeper, as it's the way that everybody's going nowadays. All right. So I think it's now the questions and answers part.
Yes, Sam. So I don't know whether Meta still need to come back. He was asking the front and back end and the feasibility of connecting an ERP system, but I suppose your case study illustration have already showed that that's the way that they are connected.
Yeah, so this ERP system, to answer your question, so like if we look at this ERP system, you can connect it very easily because DIA recognizes it needs to be able to connect to the e-commerce easily. So for IT or IT departments to adopt this solution. So there's actually a pre-built solution where you can link this up to DIA. It's like a 2-click process. They make it so easy for you to link the systems together.
Thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
And there's a question from Anne-Marie about, does Headless replace the need for a CDN?
That's a very good question, and there is lots of conflicting kind of in the industry. We would use it, so we use something like Cloudflare to manage it. It's because there's other there's lots of other uses of CDN, but especially if you've got websites which, if everybody's familiar with CDN, that's content delivery network. So a lot of e-commerce websites, for example, Asian Miles, if it wants to serve content to me here in the UK, it would use a server closer to me, geographically. So it depends on what type of website. If you're serving an international audience or a bigger global audience, we would always recommend using some kind of CDN. You can use different APIs to kind of connect the website together in a different way, but it does open up a can of worms, and different IT companies, if you're not on an enterprise level, seem to struggle with it.
Thank you. I have one, because from somebody who is not a trained e-commerce person, I just want to do something quick and simple. But with the Headless, I can draw the parallel with like programming in C. Arguably, it's simpler, but that means you need to actually know a lot of libraries in order for you to work. And in the same way that if we're going to use Headless, we need to know a lot of the APIs to be able to integrate an effective solution.
Well, let me give you an example. BigCommerce integrations. So BigCommerce is a very popular e-commerce platform, a bit like Shopify. Okay. Now, if I had a BigCommerce website, I would probably try to link it up with my accounting software. So that's Xero. So if I go to, no, it won't be here. Accounting and tax. Apps and integration. Sorry. So if I have a shipping, solution, I would link it with my ShipStation account. If I want to link it with my email marketing, or I can link it with QuickBooks. QuickBooks is an online accounting software, and you can do these with a few clicks. So what effectively these companies have realized is that actually for people to adopt this Headless or different type of tools to get it all working together, what they're actually doing is building pre-built solutions to link things very quickly. So you don't actually really need to know much about APIs. You can literally log in, link things together, and make it all work together. So if you wanted your email marketing all linked up, QuickBooks, Facebook ads and things like that, you can kind of link it together using a few clicks, and the solution is already pre-built.
Interesting. One final question from me. For people who may not be kind of into the web marketing, do you see entering into these jobs becoming easier, or is it becoming harder?
Well, for us, it's been it's such a growth area at the moment, especially, you know, I think it's one of the industries that, you know, was thriving during COVID, but there's also a huge skills shortage. And what I would say to anyone looking for a career in IT, you know, cloud-based solutions, you know, you can see everybody going online to a kind of a cloud-based subscription kind of model. And what I would say is that the people that we're getting through, for example, this 7 new starters that we had last week within our own business, you know, they're all graduates. They've got, you know, IT, you know, digital marketing degrees, but a lot of what's taught at university and institutions, it doesn't really correlate with, you know, what we're finding in the industry. So I would say, you know, if you know a young person who's looking to get into e-commerce, digital marketing, or working with websites, it's certainly a huge growth area, and that's why, you know, we're funded by the local authorities here in West London to provide training and you know, industry skills to these young graduates so that they can kind of also compete on the international level. You know, we're finding that Asia Pacific, there's been such an investment in this technology, and that, you know, in order to keep up with the rest of the world, you know, there's better education that's required to be able to support these young people.
Well, thank you, Sam. I don't know if there's any questions people want to follow up with the chat. There are no more questions I can see in the chat box. So for people who want to pop in a question, feel free to unmute. But at the same time, for people who need to rush to watch the football match, that is also okay too.
Yeah, I think I'm competing with the the football match.
So Sam, a quick one before I go. Are you on LinkedIn by any chance?
Yes, my
I'll drop Sam's LinkedIn on chat already.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Nope, I think he seems to be good. So thank you again, Sam, for giving us the time and opening. Well, for me, it is opening my eyes in some of these things that I do not know before. So it's certainly wonderful to catch up, and we'll probably be coming to tap your knowledge and get you to share other things for us in the future. Thank you very much.
No problems. I just want to add, we run a free workshops. It's not free, it's funded by the local authority here in Hammersmith and Fulham once a month. So I know it's a bit of a trek down from Bedford, but if there's anybody who's left who's close to here, let me know. I can introduce you to these sessions. It's no cost. We introduce you to the technology. You can play around with it. A lot of our customers take advantage of this because it improves their knowledge and it empowers them to think of new solutions for their business. So that's something worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then yeah, we shall once the recording is ready, we'll get it onto the BCS channel and inform people. And for Sam, Severio will be in touch as a token of appreciation. That's we can offer you a book from the BCS Publishing House catalog. So we'll follow up with you on that.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you to
evening,
Sam.
and
Thank you.
Enjoy
Okay.
the weather, the football, ice cream, whatever you're going to enjoy tonight. Goodbye for now.
Yeah, goodbye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.